In this video, we discuss the connection between three important phrases in the Bible that touch the eternal I am. The eternal I am, God in stillness, being and eternity. Hello, I'm Patrick Ngugi, a licensed practitioner with the science of mind from CSL Kenya, Nairobi. I'm also a regular contributor to Soma Study Group. Welcome, and let's look at the phrase I am. The words I am are simple, yet are among the most profound in any language. They appear in some of the most powerful moments in Scripture, moments that reveal the very nature of God. Let's hear them together. First, there is I am, who I am. Sometimes we say, I am that, I am. And this is found in Exodus 3:14. I know many of us have used this phrase, I am who I am, without knowing where in the Bible it comes from. But it comes from Exodus 3:14. Then we also have another very famous, popular one. Be still and know that I am God. And again, many of us, and that, including myself, I didn't know where in the Bible it was until I looked it up. So be still and know that I am God is in Psalms 46:10. And finally, there is also another one. It may not be very famous, but there's another one that says, before Abraham, I am. That is in John 8:58. John 8:58. And these three statements were spoken centuries apart, and yet they are tied to one truth, or rather united by one truth. For example, in Science of Mind teaching, we know that God is not separate from us. God is infinite life, the one presence and one power, expressing through all creation. So when we hear I am, we are not only hearing the name of God, we are also hearing the name of our own spiritual essence. So let's look at the first one. I am who I am, or as I say, sometimes we have heard it said, I am that I am. And as I said, this is in Exodus 3:14. And this was when Moses met also the burning bush, and is being asked by God to confront the Pharaoh and free his people. And understandably, Moses is nervous, and so he asks God, when they ask me who has sent me, what should I say? And so God says, I am who I am. In Hebrew, it says something like, Aya Esh Aya. I hope I pronounced that correctly. So in Science of Mind, teaches that God is pure being, self-existent, unchanging, infinite. I am who I am means simply God is. There is nothing outside of God to define God. And here's a connection. The same I am that spoke to Moses is the same life that speaks as you when you say I am. Every time you follow I am with a word, you are making a declaration of identity, and the creative power of the universe begins to work through that declaration. I am. What follows, what you put after that, is what you are. And as God said, according to this paragraph or this quotation, I am who I am, full stop. What he is what he is. And so when you say like, I am strong, you are aligning yourself with strength. When you say I am blessed, you are aligning yourself with blessing. When you say I'm not enough, you align yourself with limitation. And that's why in Psalm, we guard our I am statements. They are sacred. I am statement is a magic wand. Wherever you wave it towards, wherever you wave it towards, you become that. And so we can form an affirmation by saying, the I am in me is the same I am that is God, whole, complete, and perfect. So we are done with I am who I am. Let's go to the second one. Be still and know that I am God. And that is in Psalm 10, or rather 46:10. And it was written in a time of great upheaval. Nations were raging, the earth was shaking, the waters were roaring. And right in the middle of this chaos, the voice of God says, be still and know that I am God. In sense of mind, be still is more physical. It's more than physical quiet. It is releasing the noise of the ego, letting go of mental chatter, resting into the awareness of the infinite presence. Be still, removing the mental chatter, because the mental chatter, if you allow it, it'll take you all sorts of places, and therefore you may not even be aware of yourself. That's what we call overthinking. When you're overthinking a problem, you hear all sorts of things, and you forget the answer is by you remaining still. Be still. So we are told, be still and know that I'm God. So know means just more than just believing. It means direct realization, where you know something, when you know something and you don't have to be convinced, you feel it in your bones. When you know something, you feel it in your bones. And then I am God is not a far-fetched declaration. In the silence, you realize that this presence, the very life of God, is right here, closer than your next breath. This stillness is not an escape from life. It is a space where you remember who we really are. As I said, when you are still and devoid of mental chatter, then you come to realization of who you are, who you really are. And our affirmation for this, particularly when the mind is full of chatter and clutter, we can say something like, in stillness, I am the divine I am. Or rather, in stillness, I meet the divine I am at the center of my being. Center of your being is where the divine power is. And finally, on the third one, we come to John 5:8, which says, before Abraham, I am. Jesus is speaking to the religious leaders at that time. The context of this quotation was that Jesus was speaking to religious leaders and they were challenging him, questioning his authority. And so he said, before Abraham, I am. Notice he doesn't say that I was, because at the time of Jesus, Abraham had been dead or gone for centuries. And here he's saying, before Abraham, I am. He doesn't say I was. And so he was speaking from Christ consciousness, the awareness of eternal oneness with God. Inside of mind, Christ is not a person, but a principle, the divine sonship of the God self within every one of us. When Jesus says, I am, he's speaking for that eternal presence which was never born and will never die. This means that our truest identity is timeless. While our human experiences change, that is, we grow older, we take on roles and titles and face ups and downs, but the I am at our very core is changeless, whole, and eternal. When we live from this truth, fear begins to lose its grip because the eternal I am in us cannot be threatened. And what affirmation do we get from this? We get this affirmation: the I am that is God is truth of my being now and forever. The I am that is God is the truth of my being now and forever. So let's bring it together. So what do we see when we bring these three scriptures together through science of mind understanding? In Exodus 3, we see that I am is self-existent pure being. I am is self-existent pure being. In Psalm 46, we learn that stillness reveals the I am. The stillness reveals the I am. In John 8, we realize that I am is timeless, beyond birth and death, and that Christ consciousness is expression of that truth in each one of us. Affirmation: the same divine life that is God is expressing itself through you right now, or rather, since it's your affirmation or my affirmation, I can say the same divine life that is God is expressing itself through me right now. And so we have a small, brief closing practice that if you are able, you can do it right now, or you can listen to this and do it later. But let's take a short moment of silence right now. And in that silence, in your heart, hear these words: be still and know that I am God. I am who I am. And before Abraham, I am. Feel that presence within you. There I am, the life that never began and will never end. And know that is who you truly are. And so it is. Namaste.